Okay, Keegan, this is a new pattern I kind of came up with and acquired here recently. It's a little simpler version of mine. So I'm going to trace this out and send this to you, but I'm going to walk you through it here real quick, tracing it out. And when I get this pattern to you, you'll have to shorten it this way. To fit you, you'll actually shorten it on the bottom side. Leave this top the same here. So you'll just take this bottom line and move it up according to your length. Same as this line right here. You're going to move it in according to your legs so that it'll fit around you correctly. I'm going to lay this out and trace it real quick. I actually have it traced already, and thought maybe I should video this for you. So I have this laid out on this hide right here, and let me grab another bag weight. A couple weights here. So going here, I'm going to trace right along the pattern until I get right here. This is laid out for this yoke right here. Now when I get along this yoke, I actually traced, let me back up a little bit, trace this all right on the leather, right according to the pattern. Down the fringe here, all the way around. Trace it exactly. And here, typically on my patterns, and I probably will on this pattern, this here is your fringe. This is going to be 10-inch fringe. So if this is 10-inch fringe on this angle, that makes this only 5 inches wide. Okay, so I'm going to send you the pattern with this exact fringe on it, but what I'll probably end up doing is, because I don't know, it's hard to see where this line right here is on the pattern, so I actually cut a little slit right here so I could get this top side, and I can mark that, because you can't get your 5 inches here. But what I'll probably end up doing is just cutting this fringe off, so then I can trace this whole pattern, and then I can take a compass later on and go along this pattern right at 5 inches, if that makes sense. And of course, if this doesn't make sense, you can always call me.
What you're saying is you don't necessarily need the fringe part of the pattern. You could use just the bodies, yeah, and adjust the fringe accordingly.
Correct.
But you've got the fringe as part of the pattern right now, just
correct,
for a visual.
And if you want shorter fringe, say you want 8-inch fringe instead of 10-inch, instead of this being 5 inches wide, you might shorten it up to 4 inches wide. So probably half of your total length of fringe, if that makes sense. 8-inch fringe, cut it in half, that means 4 inches. 10-inch fringe, cut it in half, that means 5 inches. If you want 12-inch fringe, you probably need 6 inches of width here for your fringe. So now let's see, we'll take this pattern off, and I'm going to cut this out and explain a couple other things to you when you go to cut it out. Okay, so before I go to cutting this out, I'm going to take, this is a little bottom yoke, goes on the bottom here of your shafts to kind of help create some body. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually trace this on here. I have this set up so it goes exactly to this point on this pattern, and I'll trace this out on the pattern so you'll see it as well. And I can even trace this and send this pattern to you, and even that one. So now I have that traced on there, so when I cut this out of my other leather, I know exactly where it goes. I'm going to do the same thing with this top yoke. I'm going to get it lined up according to my pattern and tracing on the leather. Get it lined up on top and across the end here. This back point lines up exactly with your fringe, and there, it kind of comes to a little point right there. You can kind of see it, I think. Get this all lined up, and I'm gonna go ahead and trace this as well. That way I just know where it goes, and there's a purpose to this as well that I'll explain. Okay, I think you can see it on there. Okay, so just to be clear, your yoke goes on right here, and you can see there's some excess Chap leather showing all the way around here. That's what we want. So I'll cut out this yoke, tool the yoke, glue it on, sew it on, and then I will go back and I will trim this off right next to this yoke, so we got nice, clean, flush lines. But I've cut up to this point right here, a little big. Now I'm going to go right back to cutting right on the line. And I'm going to cut that right on out. Right there. Okay. Now with this piece, I'm going to get my compass, and I have this preset. I have it set to 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to take this piece that I just cut off from right here, and I'm going to scribe a line. Go up here just a little bit. Right there. Now, I'm going to cut this little strip out exactly on the line. So now that I have this little 3/4 inch strip, this will be glued onto right here, right along there. And I'll glue that strip on right there, and I'll sew it down, and that's to keep this leg from stretching as you wear it. That's the best place to cut it out. Okay, now right on the line for our fringe. Pretty close to the edge there. And I'm going to cut a little wild through here. Sorry about lathe. But got a little wild there, so it's a little bigger than your yoke pattern. Same around here. I'm cutting a little outside the line. Right to that point. Okay, Keegan, I'm gonna cut this out with my round knife because it's a little bit stiffer of a leather. This is what I typically suggest, and what I would suggest highly for cutting fringe, even on this stiffer stuff. Pretty inexpensive. This is a Singer. You should be able to get it from Hobby Lobby. It's got a little blade on it here that rolls.
Like a pizza cutter.
Like a pizza cutter. That's what I suggest. I want to use my knife. I like using my knife, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out, and she's gonna film me, and there's a couple little steps that I'm gonna do that are kind of important. I'm gonna cut this fringe out exactly on the line here. Keep your hands out of the way. Now, I'm gonna start here at this point. You don't have to cut it out in this exact order. I'm just doing it because it's what I can get to. A little off the edge there. I have to move my leather. Keep your leather kind of taut. Cutting out exactly on the line here. I'm gonna go just to that point. Do not cut past this point. Where it comes together right here. And I will...
Because you're going to use this.
Yep, I will explain why in just a moment. Same concept as we're going to do down here. I'm going to go ahead and cut this down here now. Now, here you can see this is where our little bottom cuff or yoke piece is, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to cut this at this point right here where it comes down. I'm going to cut right on this line, but right through here I'm going to cut this a little bit big. I'm going to cut it pretty well on that line, so it's a little bit big. The reason being is when we have our piece later, we're going to glue this on, we're going to sew around it, and then we're going to trim it. We're going to trim this little bit of excess off later, so it's nice and clean and flush. If we trimmed right on the line now and then put our piece of leather on, you might not get those edges to line up correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out now. Right on the line now, on the bottom of this fringe. So there we go. Okay, Keegan, Leif got a little fussy, so Jesse had to go feed him. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm gonna video the rest by myself, but this end I want to skive it down a little bit, nice and flush, so we have nice transitions, and just kind of paper thin here. This is going to lay up underneath the top yoke. I'll show you that here in a second. Okay, so this is that end that we skived down real thin over there a minute ago. So this is going to go on here, and we'll glue it on right next to nice and flush here, and we'll just let this end kind of dive down or dive underneath this yoke. That's why we wanted it nice and flush, because our yoke we'll sew this down first, and then we'll glue and sew our yoke down, and that'll be underneath there and nice and flush down to a nice smooth taper. So that's that piece. Then we got our fringe here, and if you remember, we had the pattern, and I kind of cut the pattern so I could mark up here where I can't measure this 5 inches. So here's one way to do it. I have my dividers here preset to 5 inches, and we'll just go down along here like so. Mark that out. So when we're cutting fringe, make sure you can still see here. All right. Now we can measure 10 inches up to this line, and I'll show you. These clear rulers are pretty handy too. They got different lines on them and stuff. I know it's one more thing to buy. It's not necessary, but they are handy because you can use it kind of like this, and put this down here on one, and this is up to 10 inches, and there's a little black line in this ruler. You can line it right up with the edge of your fringe there. Take your pizza cutter and cut it right to that line. Right to that line we just scribed a moment ago. And there's your fringe at the right angle and a consistent width the whole way too. We'll do that, we'll do fringe cutting a little bit later. I will show you another way to mark that out too here in a moment. I'm actually going to go ahead, since this is my pattern, I'm actually going to go ahead and cut my fringe off. Okay, I will probably keep this for a pattern, just because I can use it later on down the road to lay out shafts and everything. But I'll show you what to do with this. The other cool thing about cutting this fringe off is, well, you can get your pattern line back here again. Instead of using the dividers like I did, Let me make sure you can see here. You can't quite see. There we go. Scoot you back just a little bit. Instead of using your dividers to measure this, to find this line like we did a moment ago, you know, like this, now your pattern's right there. And we could mark that out from the very beginning. And if you have your extra Chap pattern, you can lay it out on your full hide, lay it next there, trace it out, or you know, if you want shorter fringe, then all you got to do is say you want 8-inch fringe, set your dividers to 4 inches, and then come in here along your pattern and scribe that out to 4 inches. The other thing is if you want a different colored fringe, you're going to ultimately end up sewing those off, or sewing those on, so you won't have this fringe on to begin with. So you just use your pattern, you know, line that out on your full hide, cut this shape out, and then you can take your pattern, your fringe pattern here, and go lay it on a whole different colored hide, cut your fringe out that way. And you just got to make sure you extend it enough, and so you can have a little bit of overlap to sew it on. So you might have to, if you're going to sew it on, you might have to extend it on this end, and up here at the top a little bit. You'll have to make your pattern a little bit longer, but to accommodate that. But that's one way to do different colored fringe. So, but yeah, now we got our established line there. So so we can come in again and take the end of our ruler right up to the end of that line, and that measures exactly 10 inches right there. We can cut our fringe then all the way down. Just keep walking this down, cutting it at the same angle. So. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and take my dividers, set it 3/4 of an inch, and I'm just going to scribe this line right here. On that leg there, and then I'm going to do the same thing here on this leg. Put my tools back where it belongs. I'm going to get my little scratcher here, and I'm actually going to scratch this. Scratch that one, and we'll go in and scratch this side as well. Scratched. Grab my little glue gun here, and I'm gonna spread a little glue on here. I scratched this so the glue will stick to it a little better. good habit of putting your tools back where they belong, so they're not getting in your way all the time, and you always know where they're at. Spread some glue on this side. Now I'm going to take that 3/4 inch strip we cut out earlier, and I'm going to go put some glue on the back side of this as well. Okay, I got this glued. This is glued. This glue's set up a little bit here for a few minutes. I am going to go ahead and stick it here and start working my way around. Remember, we cut that a little wild, as we would call it, there, so don't go right next to the edge. Make sure you go along the edge of your scribed top yoke there. So that's on. I overlapped it on the end here just a little bit, so I'm gonna trim that off. Flush, real nice and flush there. And I'm gonna go sew this. Now when I sew this, I'm gonna start here, probably back stitch a little bit, and then go forward, stitch all along this edge, down across the end, and then back up. So I'll go do that and I'll show you. Okay, I got this all sewn on now. So really my next steps are getting the top yokes and the bottom cuff or bottom yoke tooled and prepared to be glued and sewn on here. I am going to do this real quick though. The other handy thing about having your fringe cut off, I'm going to take my pattern here, grab a couple weights, a little bent, and get it all lined up here on the back side of my chaps here. So not quite. Remember, we're a little wild through there. We're lined up flush here. Lined up flush on the side over here. Our mark, or our point snatch up there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a pencil. I'm going to draw this line on the back side. Get it on there real good so you can see it. Yeah, I can see it. Hopefully you can see it in the video there. And just, there you can kind of see the line there marked. And the reason I did that is because that is where our zipper will end up going. Our zipper will be sewn in right next to that line there. We'll match up the edge of the bottom down here Let's unzip this, maybe you can see it better. The very edge of this is right with that line. So that tells you where that zipper needs to go then. And it'll go right up there like that. Right? So we'll cover that more later though too, when I actually put these zippers in and get ready to sew them in. Not quite there yet. Okay, Keegan, I apologize. I've been out of the shop for a few days. I'm going to try and not repeat anything, but can't remember exactly everything I covered and didn't. Anyways, jumping in here, I got these yokes, these top yokes and these bottom cuff yokes all tooled up. I got them edged, and I got some blue wax on here. Thought that'd be kind of cool to match up with these blue chaps. So anyways, I got these edges all done, and I got my stitch groove laid in here on both the bottom cuffs and the top yokes here. I also made a back buckle. This is gonna be, it'll be a buckle back. This is 1 inch wide. For you, I would suggest 3/4 inch. Or even 5/8 inch wide in the front. If you were doing a buckle in the front, I would do 5/8, and then I think maybe you were talking about lacing your back. So, maybe do 3/4 buckle in the back if you're going to do that, and 5/8 in the front. That's probably how I would do that. Anyways, I just made this out of a piece of Latigo. I got 3 inches here, and I skived this in down real smooth. So we got just an absolutely smooth transition here. Sewed up with my machine as far as I could go, and then did this. I like to do this little tie lace here with some wax thread, and got them edges all waxed in that blue as well. Got another piece here for my buckle piece. It fits in there, buckles. Now, the holes here. What I did was I laid this piece to figure out where I wanted these holes exactly. I laid this buckle piece on here. Let me make sure I can leave it on the bench and make sure you can see here. I will scoot everything this way just a little bit and maybe tip the camera down so you can really see here a little better. Okay, so I had it, this was a little extra long before I cut the end off. Anyways, I laid it on here, and I laid it on here just enough so it would cover up where this ends, right? It would be on top like that. And then I took an awl, and I marked right there and right there, so I got the width of this strap, and I got it nice and centered, and so I marked it and I punched my slot. At that point, I stuck this in there, maybe. But it's nice and snug. I like nice snug fits on stuff, so no big deal here. Okay. Now remember, this piece was a little bit longer. So then I took my oval punch and I punched down through both layers, through the strap and through the top yoke. And then I punched another one, and I'll show you what we're going to do with this later. We're going to lace this together to keep this buckle in there. And then I just cut it off at an appropriate length, and then I skived this end down a little bit. I've also done the same with this. I've skived this end down a little bit. But what we're going to do is just lay this on top of the other one, take our little awl, and mark that hole out. So now we have holes for our lace exactly the same distance from the end and the same width apart. Now take your back yoke, also punched a hole up here for a grommet. We're going to set a grommet in there, and we're going to actually tie the front together with a piece of string. Well, I'll show you that later too. Let's line these up exactly on top of each other. Maybe grab our pencil, mark that, break your lead, get another pencil, mark the hole there and the hole there, and then we're going to mark this grommet hole up here. Okay, now I'm going to go punch them holes, and they should line up exactly the same as this other one here. Next step I'm going to do, where this top yoke fits on here onto these shafts, I'm going to take my scratcher. I got this scratcher, or I got this little one here too. You know, it works. This one's a little bigger, a little more aggressive. I usually use it on saddles. I'm going to carefully stay within my lines and scratch this up a bit, so that this is really slick leather. So if you were to put glue right on this slick leather, it wouldn't stick very good. So that's why we're going to scratch it a little bit here, and that will just allow the glue to stick to it. Scratch the top of that, and I think we're probably ready for the bottom down here. We're going to scratch it as well. Do a little cross-hatch scratch there. Okay. Now, I'm going to go punch these other holes. I'm going to get some glue on this bottom piece for these bottom cuffs. I'm going to glue the top as well. I'm going to put some glue on the backs of all four of these pieces, and I'll touch back in with you here in a minute. Okay, Keegan, I'm going to just show you sewing this real quick, because I'm starting right here on the back, and the reason I'm starting there is because I'll have a double stitch there to lock those stitches in, and I want those hidden. Later on we're going to put that strap in here, and it's going to lay over top, and it will be hidden from all the sight. So you won't see that. So anyways, I'll get started here and just let you watch me sew this up. Take your time, be careful, we're not in a race. One thing I like to do to manage my shafts is just roll this leg up, so it's a little easier to to hold on to. You can see there that glue ain't sticking real great. Kind of speeding this up just a little bit. A lot of times I double glue. This has only got one layer of glue on, but sticking just enough. I'm going to go ahead with it. I got the other yoke and in the bottom cuff piece to this leg. They're all glued and drying, so I'll ultimately end up probably putting 2 layers on them, but this one's only got 1 layer. I just trying to hustle along here a little bit. Okay, right down to the tip here, and I forgot to mention all these little points, one here, one here, one here, one here, and this tip, I skived down just a little bit so that they lay a little closer, and they're not so thick, and we get nice smooth transitions there. It kind of helps from them corners getting caught too, just by your hands or your clothes or whatever else. And when I get down to the tip here, I'm actually going to sew right off of the tip a little bit, right there, and it lands exactly into this other stitch groove here on this wear piece around your thigh. One more stitch. Okay, stop before your needle comes out all the way, turn it around and go right back in the exact same hole. 1 stitch, and adjust just a little bit there, 2 stitches. Now I'm gonna continue on my path, staying right in that stitch groove that I put in. Again, I'm gonna go right off of that tip, actually completely sewing off the edge. I'm gonna turn around, go right back, same hole, turn it, continue on my way. Right off the point there. Stitch back right into the exact same hole and continue on my way. Right into the point of my stitch groove, and then I'm going to stitch right off the tip. 1 stitch. Boom. I'll turn my shafts here and sew right back into that last hole. And it isn't quite reaching, so I'm going to pick my foot up and adjust so I land exactly back in the same hole. Now, continue on my way, staying right in that stitch groove. The shafts are a little long here. I'm going to bend those, fit through. Right into the point of my stitch groove. And I'm actually going to, because I'm going to trim this off right here, I'm going to turn this a little bit and stitch off this direction. Right off the edge there. turn my leather around, lay my needle right back in that hole I've already got, and go on my way. And hitting all the exact same holes. I'm actually stitching over what I've already stitched now. Hitting all those exact same holes for a few stitches, and then boom. There. Now that end is tied in. Come over here and I got a little wood burner here with a tip on it that I use for my thread burner. And melt those threads off nice and flush, real close and tidy. Gotta be careful with these. Don't, plug them in and forget about them. And it's a good way to burn a building down. Gotta be careful where you set it and how. And a lighter or a little thread. They got a little thread burner that takes a couple of batteries, and you push the button that heats the tip up. Those are probably a little safer than this. I get to sewing so much stuff sometimes that I got that set up there so I don't burn the building down. But give you a little close up. Get my pointer here. Close up. Hopefully you can see where I sewed off of the tips of all these tips. Sewed right off the edge. Now there's no way to catch that edge and pull them up. So hope that helps. Okay, Keegan, got the top yoke sewed on. I got the bottom cuffs sewn on. Remember, we left an extra space around here. Call that, it's cut wild. Now that it's sewn on, we're gonna go and we're gonna trim this down right next to the bottom, or right next to the edge of the bottom cuff there. So now, trim that off. Now we have a really smooth finish right there. And we're not trying to match edges up and get it correct. I might go back and edge that a little bit. But I also did the same on the top yoke here. We cut this out wild, and we'll trim this down right next to the edges as well. Maybe take my cap off so maybe you can see. Keep your fingers out of the way in case you slip. Right along here. Blend that in nice and smooth. A little bit of excess there. There. Now we're nice and flush. I'm gonna go over to my punch board. I'm gonna punch this hole out so it goes through all the way through the shaft. Punch that hole out, punch that hole out, punch that hole out. Do not punch this slot here. Reason being is our buckle pieces here are gonna slip down through there, and it's gonna lay in between the two layers. So don't punch that. Do punch that one, and that one. The other thing is, I don't know if you want a pocket or not. This particular pair, he wants a pocket. So here's a shape I've come up with, and it is approximately 7.5 inches deep from the edge, from right here. So it's going to fold over right there. So this part is 7.5 inches by 6.5 inches. That's a pretty big pocket for you. You might consider if you're doing a pocket, you might consider a smaller pocket. I have laid out earlier, I do not recall if this is laid out on my pattern or not. I think it probably is. That's how I got it here, but I have a little mark here, a little mark here. I'm just going to connect those dots here real quick. Scribe that line in. Boom. There we go. And something that's pretty handy. I don't typically punch on this board, but since I got the camera set up for you, I'm gonna punch a little hole there and another one right there. That's just gonna help from this all tearing out, and it'll help this sit in there a little better. Now cut that line straight across. Being real careful, do not cut past your hole. Right there. There, got a nice slot. See those holes on each end kind of help this open up a little bit too. Now that's gonna slip down. It's 2 layers cut out the exact same size, exact same shape, and just sewn together from this point to this point. That's gonna, I hope you can see all that. Yeah, you can see. Cool. Slip down right into that point there. This side's gonna fold over there. Let me get my little, excuse me, my marking tool here. Excuse me. Make sure that's folded over just how I want it. Now I'm going to scribe around this. A little bit there. And around the bottom piece here as well. Okay. Make sure that's nice and kind of creased over. Now you can see I got that outline there. Take my scratcher. I'm going to scratch both of these up a little bit. And I'm going to go over and put some glue on this here and on this flap, and we'll glue that in and sew it. I'll clean up a couple of these things and I'll be back in a bit. Alright, Keegan, got some things to cover here. First off, let's start. Had to leave again, so I don't remember what I talked about and didn't. Anyways, got this top yoke sewn, bottom yoke sewn. I went ahead and punched that hole and that hole all the way through. There you can see it all the way through. That hole all the way through. I'll put a grommet in that here in a moment. Got my pocket sewn on here. So I think I already talked about scratching that under there and gluing on the Chap body, the top and bottom, and I glued the flap on both the top and the bottom flap on this pocket as well. Excuse me. Stuck that pocket down through that slot we cut and got it all glued in place real nice and solid, and then went in and stitched it all. So this is what it looks like on the back side. I sewed the top first, then I flipped this pocket up, and then I sewed the bottom side. So this pocket is just kind of floating in there, and you can flip it back and forth as you're sewing. I haven't decided if I want to glue this pocket down or not. In the past I have glued it down. No problem being glued down so it doesn't flop like this. I don't know that it's a I don't know that you necessarily have to glue it down either. I think you could probably leave it free floating like this and it'd be fine. Again, I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. So, that being said, got some tools here. Let's put them away. Keep our bench nice and clean so we know where our tools are and we're not stumbling over them all the time. Whoa! Camera got put in the wrong spot. Okay, now on to the next thing. I forgot to mention this earlier, which it's no big deal. We'll talk about it right now. So, pattern. I forgot to mark the top of where the top of this zipper is supposed to start. So I figured that out here just a moment ago, and I put a little notch right there into my pattern. That way, let's line this back up. These are the little steps that you remember. If you get to building lots of shafts back to back, you remember these little steps. I don't build very many shafts, so once in a while I forget certain things. So I got to go back and trace back my steps here, but that's okay. Get her pattern good and lined up. Okay, we're all lined up now. Now I'm going to mark on the back side of my shafts in that notch. I'm going to trace out that little notch. And if you remember earlier, we figured out where our fringe is. Right there it is. This is all fringe. So now we got a line right there. So what we're gonna do this is double stick tape. This is the trick. The trick. I'm gonna go in here. I'm gonna lay down a strip of this double stick tape, just a hair off of the line. So right here is my line. Here's the edge of my double stick tape. It's about the width of this all away. Not a huge thing, but don't have to be perfect. It's just I'm just kind of eyeballing it here, staying off of that line just a little bit. And this is probably a little long, but I'm just gonna go off the edge of the shafts there just a little. Make sure that tape sticks in there real good. Yeah, it's real nice. There. And the other thing I got to do, sorry, I'm thinking here, I'm going to pause this for a second and I'm going to build something and then I'll fill you in. Okay, Keegan, I'm just going to real quick show you how to set this grommet. This is a nickel plated number 2, size number 2 grommet. Put that in our hole there. Kits usually come with a hole punch that fits the grommets, an anvil, and a setter punch. So 2 pieces to the grommets. You got one with this tongue on it here, and then a washer. So we got our hole punched with the appropriate size hole punch. Stick the grommet with the tongue on it into the hole. That goes upside down on the anvil. Place a washer over top, and this is tapered end here with some grooves in it that should fit right down in and on top of that. And give her some good hits. My material is a little bit thick for the grommet, so I'm giving her a really good whacking to mushroom that down good. And that's setting the grommet. Okay, back to our zipper here. I cut out these 4 little squares. They are, let's see, they are 2 inches wide by 2.5 inches long. And I will explain better what these are for, but I punched 5 holes here, and then an opposite side too, right? So exact same, just opposite of each other. And what we're going to do is take this one here, rough side to rough side, and I'm going to actually go ahead and peel my tape. Maybe. Okay. Peel the back side of your double stick tape here. And let's see. Maybe I should actually do this just slightly different. Okay. It's okay. So I'm going to actually take a little piece of this, find my end here. I'm going to lay it right along that edge, right there. Take my knife, cut that off flush. The reason I'm using this double stick tape instead of glue is it actually, man, can't get that backing off there. Come on, tape. Work with me. There we go. There we go. Okay. Let's see. What I was saying is the reason I use double stick tape, means it's sticky on both sides, is it actually sticks to this zipper better than barge cement does. So, okay. Now, I got a hole to the top, closer to the top up here, a little farther down here. Rough side to rough side. I'm going to take this zipper and make sure I stick the right side. We want this to the outside, your pull tab, and I'm going to stick that right just level. So even with the side of the zipper tape here and flush with the top. And then I'm going to come over here and actually going to unzip this for now. Take that one over there. Get top with our mark up there. And struggling a little bit here. Just wanting to make sure. I'm going to take my compass actually and set the spacing from the edge of these brass teeth to the edge of the tape there. This is all stuff you can do on the fly because I'm not able to exactly see my line under there. I can get really close, but I want to be exactly consistent the whole way. So I'm going to take the time, set my dividers to the width of the tape here. I'm actually going to trace down my line. This is a pretty small step, doesn't take much time. And now I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but here's the original edge of my fringe, and take my dividers, and now I got another line right here, all the way up. So now that I have that line, I can be a little more consistent. So line up the tops with that mark, that little V mark, and now you can just run the edge of your zipper tape here right along that line. Now, make sure that's stuck down nice and good. See, it's a lot cleaner than trying to get glue dabbed on there just perfectly. Okay, I am going to go sew this now. I'm going to get the other side stuck the exact same as this side. And be back in a moment. Okay, Keegan, gonna sew the zipper on here. Got it all stuck up here. We know where we're gonna start on the top side, but I'm gonna start ahead of it. I'm gonna back stitch at the edge of my petal here lined up. Just gonna go to the edge of my top yoke up here, back stitch, and then now I'm gonna go forward. We're not actually sewing the zipper down quite yet. This is just starting at a spot to make it look good. There, now we're on the zipper. And yeah, hold on one second. have a hard time focusing and talking sometimes. Hopefully you can see, but we have this line here that we scribed earlier off of our pattern, our fringe out here. I want to line the edge of my foot right here up with that line. There should be brass zipper right on the outside of this line. So I'm going to put my foot on the inside of the line there so it's not going on top of that brass, those brass teeth. And it's going to get going. Keep right on there. Regroup. All the way to the bottom. I'm going to back stitch a little bit. See how we did. Ooh, look at that. Looks fantastic. See how even the spacing is all the way from the teeth to the middle there, or the stitch line. Nice and even the whole length. Looks good and straight on the front. Can't ask for no better than that. I'm going to go ahead and put a second line of stitches in just because I think it would look really good. And I'm going to put I'm going to back stitch same. This time I'm going to put my presser foot here right on the last row stitching. Back stitch, now go forward. Make sure you hit all the same holes. Be careful right through here, it's a little tight. Pause with your needle down so you can move this, regroup. I'm actually going to roll this leg up just a little bit. And we'll be good to go. Now, I absolutely do not suggest sewing as fast as I do. I've got many hours doing this and I'm very practiced. I do not suggest going as fast. Okay. Got our second row of stitching. Again, not necessary, but I think it looks pretty good. I like the look of it. Pretty even. Did fall off a little bit right there. I really prefer not to do that. Slight mistake. Can't really, pretty hard to be perfect everywhere, but try to not do that, I guess. It's just, oops, do better on the next one. Okay, got my second zipper done. Got a nice even row of stitches there, 2 rows. Looks good. So now I'm gonna move on to the other side of the zipper. So I got these parted. This one's got the pull tab here. So that means I'm gonna grab the tape without the pull tab. And you want the pull tab to start at the top. So as you step in, you zip them down closed. So that means this is going to be at the top so that it can go in here. So what I'm going to do, make sure you can see here. Not quite. There we go. Get my double stick tape. I'm going to start right up here at the tip. I'm going to start laying out my tape right along the edge here. I think that's enough. Kind of double check here. I'll go a little bit more. Don't want to cut ourselves short here. So cut our tape there. Grab a tool and just make sure that tape stuck down real good to that leather. Just make sure to rub it down. There we go. Point here, see if I can split the paper off. There we go. Again, starting up here. I'm actually going to take this corner and I'm going to bend it back a little bit. And I'll show you the reason here in a minute. I'm going to go seal this. There, I actually went and kind of melted that corner off and melted it, folded it back and melted it down a little bit. And the reason I did that, and I did it to this side so that when I stick it to the leather, that melted side's hidden. But the reason I did that is so that I could get this tip up there a little higher without the corner of this going off the leather. Hope that makes sense. Get this line back out here. Now, I'm just going to go in here. I'm gonna lay those brass teeth in right up next to the leather. Tool, just rub that down a little bit, make sure that tape and the zipper are stuck together real good. Good. Just like that. Now I'm gonna go sew this just like I did the other side. Okay, rocking and rolling on this Chap's here. Got this side all sewed up, double stitched, nice and even all the way down. Zipper to the top, matches up. Matches up to this one here. Zips nice. Yeah, looking good. Looks real good. This piece here, mentioned it earlier. It is going to go straight across like this. And we're gonna maybe get this pulled into place correctly here. Gonna punch a hole right there and another hole right there. And a little hole there, there, and there. Now, here a little bit later, we're gonna lace this together. So when he unzips this, this zipper will only go to right there, and then it'll stop. So he'll just step in the very top of this. He didn't want it to unzip all the way and come undone like that. Sometimes it's hard to get started again back behind your leg, so this might be something you want to do. So we'll zip it up a little bit, we'll lace this across, and then it won't unzip all the way. So that's what that little flap in those holes were for. But we're gonna wait on that. Now it's the infamous fringe cutting time. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. This plastic ruler has all these little black lines in it. I just make my fringe the same width as these two black lines. So we got one cut there. And we're going to turn this hide so that we can use those measurements. Now here's going to be the tricky part to begin with. We can't leave that there, otherwise we'll end up cutting it. We're going to have to kind of fold it back and just do the best we can for the moment. Line up your black line. Line up this first black line here, right along the edge of your fringe. And starting on this line right here that we scribed in earlier, I'm going to cut in there, cut all the way out. There we go. We got a fringe. And we got two fringe, exact same length. Keep that folded back, make sure you're in the clear.
Get it, the edge of your leather lined up with that black line. Cut another one. Line it up. Cut another one. Make sure we're missing our leather underneath there. Looks like we are. And cut another one. Okay. We are rocking and rolling now. Let's double check our length. There we are. It looks like because of the curve of this, we're getting a little bit short. We're not quite 10 inches. So what I'm going to do is on this end, here's the black line. I'm going to scoot this ruler in just a shade, just a tiny bit. So it's going to be just a little bit thicker on the back end. And here's my black line. And the edge of my leather is just inside that. So ultimately we're going to be just a tiny bit thicker on the backs, on the base end here, and just a skosh narrower on the tip there. And we're going to cut that. And then we're going to repeat that. Just a tiny bit fatter on the back and just a tiny bit narrower on the tip. Just a little bit. You can kind of see maybe how it's a little narrower there and just a tiny bit wider there. You do enough of that and ultimately you will end up lengthening your fringe back out. I actually told you backwards. I actually shortened it. So I was actually thinking backwards here. You're going to have to make the back end. I wouldn't go any narrower than the black line on the back end, but you're going to have to make your tip just a little bit fatter. Or the other thing you can do is you can actually go in here. This is probably what I would suggest. Is I'd put the edge of your ruler here, right on the last fringe you cut, right on the line, and I'd go a little bit thicker past the black line up there, and we're actually going to remove a little pie, a little sliver there. Now, let's remeasure that. Now we're up to, back to 9 inches at the longest. So what I would do is we're not at our 10-inch yet. So I would actually cut another regular fringe width here. Same width the whole length. Now, just move this end in a little bit. Leave the back right where it was, right where you cut the last fringe. And we're gonna cut another little pie-shaped sliver out. So now we are back to about 9.5 inches. So now I'm going to cut another regular width fringe. And I'm going to cut another little pie shaped out, another little sliver. I'll bet you this is the last one we got to do. Didn't quite get it all cut out there. Take my little knife, there we go. Get that cut, measure it. There we go, back to 10 inches. So now that we're back to 10 inches, we're just going to continue on cutting our regular width. What's going to happen because of this curve is we're actually going to end up with longer fringe pretty soon. Let's see, now we're already at 10.5. So yeah, we're going to go back to making this base just a little bit thicker. And I'm just going to continue that for a few fringes. Let's see where we're at here. See, we're still growing. We're about 11 inches now. So I'm going to continue on. I'll get back with you in a bit. Okay, Keegan, got my fringe cut down to 10 inches all the way down here. Right down to the corner. So it's going to start ending up a little bit shorter right here off the tip. So we're down to about 10 or 9.5 inches here. But there's nothing you can do. It is the nature of the fringe. So we're just going to continue on cutting a regular thickness fringe. Don't change a thing. Don't make it narrower or thicker at the base or the tip. Keep it the same all the way down. Shorter and shorter with every cut. Getting real short now, only about 2 inches long, maybe a little less. Now we're down to 1.5 inches. Now we just got this little corner left. Just keep on going. And now we could do a little slip there. So fringe gets pretty short there, but it almost all ends up at the right length down there, nice and even down at the bottom. So there you have it. Your fringe is all cut on that leg, all 10.5 inches long. So now let's move on to getting this tied in here. This is a heel popper I got. I'm just gonna wedge it in here and get this opened up. Peel that glue apart. You can see that's in between the two layers. This is my left leg, so I'm gonna do this back belt with the holes on this left side, and it don't really want to go in there. This is Latigo. It's a little bit softer. Let's get maybe this screwdriver, and we'll get right in on the holes on this here strap. See if we can't. Nope. See if we can't just kind of wedge that in there. There we go. There it's going in. Okay. Got this other little tool. I don't know what it is. It's this kind of half rounded thing. I'm going to stick that through there and get them holes lined up and opened up. And get this one opened up here. Lined up and open. Okay. Got this little piece of, couple little pieces of lace I cut earlier. Stick that through one hole and back down through the other hole. And I'm just going to tie that just like that. Pull it nice and snug. It's just one loop around each other. Now I'm going to grab a hammer, pound that nice and flush. Take your knife, trim that tag in nice and short. Trim that tag in nice and short. And I do like to take just a little bit of glue and kind of smear a little glue over that. And let that set and glue. Let that glue set up. Reason I like to use lace instead of rivets and stuff, one, it looks really clean. It's nice and smooth and clean looking, but if something were to ever happen, get hung up or something, there is a little bit of an opportunity for this lace to break, whereas if you were riveted in, that probably isn't going to break. So it looks good, it's plenty strong. I've never had one break. Never known anyone to get hung up in a pair of chaps I built, so I don't know if it actually would break or not, but I personally feel like it gives it the opportunity to break. So I'm gonna, let's see, now I'm gonna go over real quick. I'm gonna punch these holes here, and I'll be back. Okay, I got this little finger pole lace cutter here, and I'm going to simply cut. Just pull with one finger and the other hand here. There's a lace there, and That's probably about the right length. I'm going to cut 2 of those. These are pretty inexpensive, I think. You can get them at Tandy, Weaver, several different places you can get them. Gonna trim the tips off to a kind of a sharp point here. Put your tool back so you don't ruin it and it's out of your way. Yeah. I'm gonna slip this in here. Looks like I made that a little wide, so I'm gonna grab my finger pull, lace pull thing here again. Narrow it up just a little bit. Don't have to make it a big science. Stick that through there, and don't think I trimmed off quite enough, so I'm gonna take a little more. See if that's enough. Still a little bit snug, so let's go some more. Kind of left a little corner right there. Trim that off. Do smooth work. There we go. Fits in there nice and good now. So this is the top. And it's hanging down. We're gonna cut a hole in the top side first. This is called bleeding your strings together. This is what you do on saddle strings. Got a nice little slot in there. Open the hole up. Stick the bottom end through. Get it turned so it's nice and straight with each other. Take your knife right down in the corner of that V. And don't stab yourself. And do a nice another little slit right down the middle. With that back, let me get my actual bleed tool here. Use on saddle strings. Nice little antler. I'm sure you can steal your dad's. I'm sure he shot one about that size before, so I'm sure he's got some little tiny antlers hanging around. You can go steal one of his. Don't tell him I said that. There you go. Got a nice little bleed string on your zipper there. That gives you something to hold on to and zip them up. So let's go ahead and get this zipper started. Let's just zip that leg up. Now I got a couple other little strings here, and I'm gonna punch a little slot in this one. Okay. And I'm going to go through a little piece, the little flap here first. I'm going to go down through the top and then down through the Chap leg. Pull that up a little bit and weave this up, back up through the second hole. Now open up our hole on our string right there and feed it through itself. And you'll have to pull this around a little bit. Get that pulled down there nice and snug. We want this to lay nice and flush, nice and smooth. There we go. And actually, that is correct, but since we're trying to do good work, I'm going to actually flip this string I'm just going to pull it back out. I'm going to do the rough outside right here at the top. I'll show you why. So there we go. Feed it back through the top again, and then back up through the second hole, just like before. Get your little slot hole opened up here. Feed it through again, and get this all pulled down nice and smooth. Now I'll show you. Now, as we go down, this will be smooth here. It's rough out there, but it'll be smooth the rest of the way down. So, go down through your next set of holes to the inside of the leg and back out. There we go. Well, I either need to go, tell you what we're going to do, Keith. I only got one hole left. I was thinking incorrectly, but this is where a craftsman comes in. A true craftsman can fix his mistakes without anyone knowing it. I could go down and I could punch another hole, so I come back out. I want this string to be hanging out like this. So I either need to punch one more hole, or tell you what we're going to do. We're going to back all this out one more time. Pull all this string out. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to start on our first hole. We're going to go out with it like that, and then go through our string here. There. Now we got it wrapped around the edge here, and that's nice and tight together. Now there's no edge to catch. So I think this will be better. I'm just going to go ahead and say that's probably what I was thinking from the beginning, but you know, who knows? Now just weave it back in, back and forth here, going in and out. Okay, coming out in our last hole there. Now, what we can simply do, keep it simple, is just tie a little loop in it. And we'll just kind of snug that knot up a little bit. See if we can't tease this a little bit to lay really nice and flat for us. There we go. There. Well, that'll be enough to keep it from coming out. So there we have it. One leg completely done. I will go back and I'm gonna oil these a little bit and then put some tan coat on them. But I'll do that here yet this evening when I get the other leg. Gotta cut the fringe on the other leg and put the buckle piece here on the other side and lace that up on the other leg. So anyways, there we go. I'll check back with you a little later. Okay, Keegan, quick overview. We got these laced together, zipped up, got our buckles on the back here, and strap on the back there. Got these tabs glued down. Got a string here in front. I left this a little long for now until the customer comes to try them off, and then I'll cut them up. Cut it a little shorter, you know, more appropriate length, but got it laced together here in the front, and these chaps are done. Other than I'm gonna go oil these yokes here and these bottom cuffs, put some tan coat on them, but there we have it. Fringe on both sides, and so I will send this pattern to you, and hopefully it'll work for you. Like I said, I think before, when it comes to fitting these to you, length of your leg, you will have to, your out seam, which is going to run down the outside of your leg, that measurement's going to be right here. This is going to be your out seam, or more or less right through here. So this is going to be, these are about 39, 38, about 38. So that's going to be your out seam. And then this will be your thigh measurement here. You'll measure this flat. I've got a pattern here. Maybe I'll try and I'll mark this out. I'm going to send this pattern to you. So maybe I'll try and mark this out for you on this pattern. But yeah. Right here is going to be your out seam. Looks like these are 38. This right here to this notch, that's going to be your thigh measurement. Say you're 24 inches in the thigh, you're going to subtract 1 inch. Well, you would leave it about the same, I guess. I was going to say you would subtract 1 inch for the width of your zipper, but then add 1 inch for your or for your pants and whatnot. So actually you would pretty much just leave it the same. So if your thigh measurement is 24 inches, you're going to measure across here and say, yep, that's 24 inches. If your thigh measurement is 22 inches, put this on 22, and then you're going to make a mark here. So you're actually gonna shorten it right along this edge, according to the measurement around your legs. So And then if you're shorter, your legs are shorter than this pattern, you're gonna cut it off the bottom. So you don't change this top or this side necessarily. You shorten this side and the bottom up. So I hope that helps. As always, you can call me if you need more help and answers, so I can walk you through it. But hopefully this pattern does you some good. So good luck.